Hello everyone and welcome to the very first SWAW virtual summit. All things work together for the good. Hey, pardon once again that we couldn't meet physically, but here are the good news. Everyone now gets to watch, and it will be obviously available on our YouTube channel, so you get to watch this again and again, take some notes and learn a thing or two, and revisit again the segment. And today I'm not alone in the very first segment. We are having the one and only, if you know her, but okay, anyway, I'm not gonna get into details. You're going to hear for yourself. This is Dawn NathanJones, and short. I think when I was looking at your profile, I was like, I'm not even sure how to introduce her because she's so many things. But I think I told her that the shortest that I could identify her as is the multi-award winning entrepreneur. And you're gonna find out just now why we're saying that. But welcome.
Thank you, Latanda, and it's really awesome to be here.
Thank you for saying yes to this invitation. I know you are a busy woman, so I'm very honored, and obviously people watching there, obviously quite honored to have you. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm in a good space, and I always like to start everything with a check-in.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm feeling very, very positive, and yeah, I'm in a good space, so ready for the interview. And
Wonderful.
hopefully to be able to share some pearls of wisdom with people watching.
Absolutely. Okay, so speaking of checking, then my one word today is expectant.
Oh, fantastic.
I am expectant.
Okay, I love that. And mine is a sense of gratitude.
Sense of gratitude. Wonderful. I am expectant, and thank you that you're sharing your own word today. That should already give you your own, get you into that thought of, well, how am I feeling right now? Am I expectant? Am I feeling grateful? Am I feeling at peace? How are you feeling? So we want to know as well, how are you feeling? Or rather, let this moment be a time where you can just introspect and reflect in your own life right now. But so long, we're gonna dive into it. So, Dawn NathanJones, should I read her bio? Should I read her bio?
I'll tell you, don't worry, it's up to you.
I think I'll just read it quickly. And I'll try to be very quick. So Dawn's legacy lies in her role as one of the early pioneers of Imperial Car Rental, now Europe Car, a recognized global leader in the industry. She spent over 3 decades. Where was that? I'm only 32, guys, and she looks like she just did her 21st birthday party. What?
I love you.
And she's been building this fledgling business with 2 colleagues, and at the end of her illustrious career as CEO, she stepped down at the end of 2015. 2015, I was doing like my 3rd year in varsity. And the following year, launched into reality TV with her role as the only female shark in the Mnet reality show Shark Tank. Since moving to Cape Town, her trajectory has taken a more holistic and international direction that focuses on giving back to communities. I love this one. She's an investor in small businesses with a strong focus on women and the youth, sharing her experience, wisdom, and key insights into the world of entrepreneurship and leadership. She is the founder, y'all, CEO of Grow Wealth SA, focusing on developing business and marketing strategies and networking opportunities to companies and individuals. And lastly, but not least, in 2017, she partnered with Les, I call her Les, we all do, Leslie Vatrikane, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, in Over the Rainbow, a social enterprise that strengthens the entrepreneurship ecosystem through training, mentorship, and support to small businesses and startups to help build sustainable and successful businesses. What a mouthful. Hi. Thank you so much. I think the first question I would like to ask, I mean, you ventured and pioneered in different fields in your career life. What has been that consistency or stimulus in your career journey? Just that one thing that kept you going, even though different fields, one to another.
Lutando, so it's a very interesting question because I wear and I've worn various hats.
Yes.
But I think the impetus or the common thread throughout my career has been to make, create and build a meaningful impact that goes way beyond my tenure.
Okay.
Goes way beyond, so it's sustainable even without me. So even when I had a career at Imperial and grew this business from ground up, I was always aware that there would be a day that I would need to pass the baton to somebody.
Yes.
And I was very fortunate to have many incredible women working with me. So I think to answer your question, it's to make a meaningful impact that goes beyond just me.
Okay, and what would you say informs that? Like why would your drive be to impact others? I'm asking because it is something maybe that was, influenced by people before you, maybe a family member, or how you grew up made you to be like, you know what, I want to grow into a person that impacts other people.
So I think it comes from my family. My late mother, definitely. She was an inspiring lady. She was very liberal, and she brought us up in a home where the old apartheid system was just really unacceptable.
Yes.
So we fought for freedom.
Wonderful.
And so my whole life, when I talk about meaningful impact, is really giving back to others is far more meaningful than just being, having your own success.
Yes.
But seeing through the eyes of others their success.
Correct.
For me, that's so much more impactful than just my own success. So, for example, yes, I have been successful and I've had an incredibly blessed and privileged journey. But today, when I see a small business owner growing his business 10%, 20%, 30%, that to me is far more powerful than getting a 3 billion rand tender. I know it sounds very crazy,
yes.
but it's taking that focus away from myself and putting that focus and energy into other people.
And that must be very fulfilling, because when you're talking about a 10 billion tender, but then it's only benefiting you.
Exactly.
Versus when you see that small business, that someone thriving there, especially when you know you've had an input, then that must be far more fulfilling. That's
very
true wealth for me.
Very, very fulfilling. And I think it also is part of leadership that today I think is lacking. I think we don't have enough leaders that really want to grow and develop, honestly grow and develop other people. They come first. But if they grow and develop other people, you only rise by lifting others.
Exactly.
You become a great leader.
You are as great of a leader as the people that you've lifted up on your way there.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
So I agree with that. And I wanted to ask, since you ventured into different fields, and why those specific fields? And the question here is, were you maybe taking opportunities as they presented themselves, or you had like a targeted role to where you wanted to get?
So I think it was both. I think it was firstly recognizing opportunities, and I say this to small businesses. What is entrepreneurship?
Yes.
One, it's recognizing an opportunity. Two, it's seizing the opportunity. And three, capitalizing on the opportunity. And that is something you can learn. But fortunately, I think I had that in me. It was inbred in me from a young age. So yeah, seizing the opportunities and really everything in life is an opportunity. And sometimes people get smacked in the face with an opportunity and they don't realize it. So opportunities surround us each and every day. So it's really being able to identify those opportunities and really taking on very much more than I was ever capable of.
Yes.
So in a way, I suppose, at a young age, I actually punched beyond my weight. and I really took on more than I was maybe capable of. But you give a small person a big chair and you encourage them and you give them support, and it's incredible how they grow into that chair.
Yes.
And a lot of people say, you've got to have the skills, you've got to have the qualifications, you've got to have the experience. I say you've got to have the right attitude. If you've got the right attitude, then leave it to me. I will give you the support and the encouragement and help you on your way.
Would you say also the right attitude also attracts the right support? Because if you're
Absolutely.
talking about you being given a big chair, you would need support to sit
Absolutely.
properly and
You
make
would
sure
need
you're
support.
full.
You can't leave somebody on that chair and just walk away. You've got to give them endless support. And sometimes for leaders, I think that's a lot of work.
Yes.
It's hard work. It's very hard work, putting your time and effort into somebody else. But you know, over time, you realize like how many people you've grown and nurtured and developed that have become like globally successful. You know, that is, as you say, so fulfilling, so meaningful, so rewarding.
I almost want to say having the right attitude is very critical, because some people you're going to, you know, make an impact in their career journey without you doing anything directly to them, but they will learn something from you just by your positive attitude. I know that there are people that will not learn from you by having listened to you or having been part of an organization that you're part of, but watching you from afar. Now imagine if I'm watching you from afar and you're a leader, but you have a bad attitude, you know, and your reflection to things is very negative. I'm not going to learn a thing.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to want to come as close as being in a boardroom then to finally learn something. Your attitude already would have discouraged me. Or so I think I like how you mentioned that it really comes with also having a good attitude, because guess what? You can identify an opportunity and you may have all the energy, all the knowledge, and all the right connections to seize the opportunity. But with a stinging attitude, how far can you go?
Absolutely.
So I really like that you mentioned those key critical factors that really take play into becoming the leader that one can be. So thank you for that contribution.
Pleasure.
And so you have a strong focus of women and of youth, and I just want you to understand what informs or what makes you to want to focus on that. What informs that focus, specifically women and the youth?
Okay, so firstly, Latando, being a woman myself, I've seen the challenges and the hurdles that we've had to go through. Also bearing in mind, I came from a very male-dominated industry. It was the motor industry, the tourism industry, the logistics industry, very male-dominated. So I've seen those barriers that can actually set people back.
Okay. Yeah.
And also, my career started at the age of 21. By 23, I was made a director, and most of the people that reported to me were much older than me. And I believe very much age is unimportant.
Yes.
You know, how young you are and how old you are, because it's about what contribution can you make.
Yes.
So I was given an opportunity at a very young age, and I was a woman. But today when I look around, and very often when I'm entered into business or leadership awards, there are very few females in the category. And I really want to change that, because I think we have phenomenal female leaders in this country, but we need to just lift them up, and I think they also need to show up. You know, they need to show up. So
I like that.
You ask me the question, why youth and why women? It's because of my history and from where I came from. I was young, I was a female in a very male-dominated environment. So those are the things that really I thought, if I can give back, because I've been there, I've seen how hard it is, and I've persevered, and I've had resilience, and I've never ever, however, lost my femininity. You know, I've never tried to be this male dominant, forceful character in a male world. And I think people have respected me for being a woman and loving being a woman and every aspect of being a female, and being softly spoken sometimes and most of the time. But that can be power in itself, you know. You don't always have to be the loudest voice in the room to be heard. So, you know, those are the things that I've learned over my career. And I always say that my world, I was born in Durban, and that was Sama Zulu. I was born in Durban. And that was really my learning. And then Johannesburg was my earning. I was in Johannesburg for like 28 years, and that was my learning phase, learning my reputation, earning my reputation, earning my seat at the boardroom table, earning not just financially, but earning the respect, which is so important, earning that respect. And then I moved to Cape Town 7 years ago, and this part and this phase of my life is returning and giving back. So,
Wonderful.
So learning, earning, and returning has been really the 3 phases of my life. Coincidentally, it happened in different cities,
Wow.
but that's how I feel I've been so blessed that I've been able to do this.
That's almost very strategic. Did you see it coming? Okay, for this amount of years I'm going to be learning, and for this amount of years I'm going to be earning, and then I'll be returning. Like, did you see it coming? It just panned out.
It happened that way. It wasn't intentional, it just happened that way, and I think circumstances.
Wow, I think this is amazing. There's something you said which I don't hear quite often, and it's important that you've actually mentioned it, and quite interesting, where you said that and also then empowering women, but then you said they must show up.
Yes.
I like that, because then we leave the latter, whereby we're talking about empowering women, but then we realize that those who are leaders, who are out there to empower women, these women are not showing up.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, which
And
then
I think
defeats the
very
purpose.
often it's maybe because of lack of self-confidence, and the imposter syndrome, which kicks in, that they feel that they're not good enough, they feel that they're being second guessed, they feel that they maybe are not the right people for the job, maybe a male can do it. So I think we need to show up. Women now, more than ever before, I think we're living in the harsh reality of a world that's not perfect. And I think we need a feminine touch in leadership. If it's running a country, running a business, we really do need a lot more women, and that softer, soft skills sometimes get totally overlooked in business. And I think they're as powerful as those hard skills. Understanding finance, understanding numbers, they're very important. But sometimes the soft skills are overlooked, and they really, really are important in terms of leadership.
Do you think lack of this kind of understanding has also negatively affected how we view women empowerment altogether? And I'm asking because when you talk about, women taking up space, there's like this undertone of taking up space against men, or taking up space in expressions of the hard skills. So, because then you mentioned something about how even though you are taking up space, but you haven't lost touch with your, you're still feminine voice, how you project yourself, etc. But then in many cases, what comes to mind in empowerment of women setup, it's like we're going on a war against men.
Not at all, not at all. And I think we need the balance.
Yes.
We really need the balance. So in my last couple of years as the CEO at Imperial, it was those years I realized that you need skills. And if the skill is a male or if the skill is a female, and there was a great balance. I would say though 70% of my senior management were female, but the other 30% were male, and we worked in harmony. I mean, we really did work incredibly well together. I mean, I never saw a man as like a man or a woman. So
and you didn't have to be masculine or something like that.
Not at all. No. And sometimes one of the powerful things I've learned is to show your vulnerability and your fear as a woman. Sometimes we're nervous to actually show those vulnerabilities, and as women we are probably more vulnerable, and we're more emotional, and it's okay. It's actually okay to show your fear, your vulnerability. Sometimes hiding it and masquerading behind a mask and trying being something that you're not, people can uncover that, and they can see through that.
Correct.
So to be your authentic self is probably far more important than to actually show you're dominant, or just be yourself, just who you are.
And covering up, I believe, actually makes you more weaker than if you were just vulnerable in the first place. I believe there's so much strength in being vulnerable and being yourself, and in different I like how, and this is my approach as well, that in different spaces I can, like head spaces I can find myself in, I will still be as legit as that space. Where if I'm stressed out, Dawn, I'm currently stressing right now, I don't know how this is going to happen. Actually, I'm feeling downcast that this didn't take the direction that I thought it would take. Instead of me be like, oh no, you know, like showing up as though it's okay, I'm at the right space. So me being vulnerable is like, I believe that I'm owning up to how I'm feeling.
Absolutely.
I'm acknowledging it's actually valid that I'm feeling this way. I believe there's so much strength in that.
Yes.
And also it also makes me to appreciate myself more, and it also makes me feel better of a person and not better against anyone else, but a better version of what I was yesterday. And guess what? Then the next day, when I'm feeling more empowered, I'm still going to validate myself.
Absolutely.
I'm still going to draw in strength from that as well. And if the next day I feel like I've taken 10 steps back, guess what? I'm going to acknowledge that again.
Absolutely.
You know, I feel there's so much power in that, because then I'm not afraid to be broken. I'm not afraid to have days where I feel less of. I'm not afraid to accept that I'm so much of a human and I'm so much of a woman that I can go through these phases in life, but I'll still show up.
Absolutely.
I don't mind showing up
Absolutely.
broken.
And that goes to the conversation we were having earlier before the interview.
Wonderful, yes.
When we spoke about how you were feeling.
Yes.
And that's wonderful, because sometimes those setbacks can be a strength that all of a sudden within you there's a strength that overcomes it, and that's the only way you can learn, by failure and setbacks and challenges. Overcoming these things makes you a stronger and better person, and by talking about it shows you're a real person.
Correct. Therefore, I'll say strength or power that is not tested cannot be trusted.
Love that.
Wonderful. I think then this takes us to our next question, because then those will speak to how practical you actually empower these women, these individuals, these entrepreneurs. So tell us more about Over the Rainbow and Entrepreneurs Network, EN, which I'm part of, y'all, and their synergies, if any. And I'm asking this one because I want to see, and also for you there, like some pointers for entrepreneurs who are wanting to form partnerships in their own business lives, like how and when, with whom, and how do you even know that now it's time to form partnerships?
Okay, very interesting question, and let's start with Over the Rainbow. So I was on Shark Tank, and I was the female shark on Shark Tank, and that's after I'd stepped down, and like 2 months later, I mean, I thought I was going into like early rewiring, not retiring, rewiring. And I got the call from Mnet to say, would you come and be on the show? We're looking for a female, and your name has been recommended. And I said, no, I'm like under the radar. But it gave me a platform. It gave me a platform to listen to hundreds and hundreds of small businesses and entrepreneurs pitch their businesses. And afterwards, reality hit in. I realized that in our country, there's a lack of somebody mentoring and nurturing and training those people. They came out into the show totally unprepared, not knowing about their market, not knowing about their figures and their numbers, not knowing what is it that really drives your business, and you know, where do you derive the best profitability. No one knew those answers. And when I moved to Cape Town after Shark Tank, I realized that I should do something about it. It is a real issue. And it was so sad. I actually wanted to go up and hug these people, but I was supposed to be the shark and very brave and very eat people alive, which is reality TV. But the deeper me spoke to myself and said, you've got to do something about it. So I started looking at different things. I started a business called Grow Wealth, and then I met Leslie, and she was on this drive to nurture, train, and grow small businesses, because I think in today's economy in South Africa in particular, the only saving grace for us is through small businesses, through growing small businesses, and it really is something that is in reach. It's within reach, because big businesses aren't growing anymore, and you know, because of technology and AI and all of those things, big businesses are starting to shrink. So really the opportunities for small business to grow and thrive are unbelievable. So we've been running this for the last 8 years. Well, Les was a year before me. I joined her 7 years ago. We're in equal partnership, and we've touched maybe 5,000 people through our various programs. We've had large-scale conventions. We've had smaller conventions. We run training programs. We've got a thing called Golden Circle, which is a mentorship program.
Okay.
We've got a boot camp to boardroom, which is a 9-month program where people come and be trained and they're held in a safe space. And then going through all of this, the one thing that really came up, and that was very evident, that a lot of these young entrepreneurs that haven't been in business, they don't have a network, they don't have access to market, they don't have a network. And that's where Entrepreneurs Network came up, to actually have sort of a mini EO or a mini YPO. So EO, you have to do a turnover, I think it's 30 million. And these small businesses aren't there. So how do we get them there?
Yes.
So it's really building this pipeline of people to get them there. And through networking in a forum-based structure, you're dealing with like-minded people who are on a similar trajectory and cycle in their business, that you can share learnings, you can share failures, you can share successes, and it's a very safe space. So that's where Over the Rainbow is really the training and the mentorship, and Entrepreneurs Network is the networking and working through forums, through very small forums with like 8 people. So we have those things. We have a lot of different things on. I've got lots of things going on at the moment, but yes, and I do a lot of judging of women's competitions. In fact, I'm busy with Women of the Future now.
Yes,
Women of the Future.
Wonderful.
And then I've got another one the next month. So the month of August, Women's Month for me is very busy. But really, again, it's just so fulfilling and so rewarding to see how many women we have in this country that are so talented. That are starting to put themselves out there. It really is. It's just for me the greatest thing. It gives me the greatest thrill to see that.
So tell me then, what would be now since you've shared your story and how you connected with Les and where you are now, that question of someone who also wants to form those kind of partnerships, how and when do you even know that now you can form partnerships? What should be the signs, I don't know, for lack of a better word?
So I think when you're battling to grow your business and you're not knowing where to grow, and very often you ask a simple question like, who is your customer? Who's your ideal customer? And people really don't know. They're not very clear about that. So it really helps you to really think about who your customer is. So we run large-scale events where we have sort of 50 to 100 people, and we always have interesting speakers talking on things like leadership, access to market, funding, etc., and giving different perspectives. And I think it depends on every business. But when you reach a point where you actually don't know which road and which direction to follow, that's when you probably need the safe space where you can work with other people who are in a similar situation to you, and that can help guide you through that process. But coming from their own personal experience, not giving you advice, because there's a very big difference. So we make sure that in Entrepreneurs Network, in the forums, people are talking from their own personal experiences. Because it's easy for me to say to you, Latanda, my advice is, leave this business or whatever. Say you leave the business and all of a sudden financially you're broken. You come back to me and say, Dawn, you told me to leave the business. But if I say to you, this has happened to me and this is what I did. I did this, and if it works for you, it's great. You can decide to do it or not to do it. But the minute I give you advice, I'm telling you what to do. So, and then with Les and I working together, we come from different perspectives. So it gives you an option. Well, I'll go with Les, or I'll go with Dawn. And we always bring in, for me, it's about changing lives, one entrepreneur at a time. And we try and work with the entrepreneurs on a one-to-one basis, at least once every couple of months. We have an engagement with them on one-on-one. Where are you going? Is this the right thing for you? Do you need training? So it's a very holistic ecosystem where some of the people have been with us. In fact, Jamie from Loop, I don't know if you know him, he's Uberized the taxi business. He's got that company called Loop. So he's actually developed an app for taxis into the Cape Flats, because there's no Uber in the Cape Flats and it's very difficult to get a taxi. And so he's Uberized taxis.
What?
Yes. No,
Okay,
he's
that's an interesting one.
He's been with us at Over the Rainbow for the last 7 years, and to actually see his business now scaling, we've got like 120 taxis that are on his platform. It works on an app, he's got a payment system. So these sort of stories, they've come over time. So it's not, I don't believe in training, 2-day program, a boot camp, in and out. Entrepreneurs Network, we've had people now that have been, they're going into their 2nd year, hopefully they're going into their 3rd year and 4th year. So I think but then there's some people that maybe only need the 2 days. So it depends very much on the individual.
I like this approach. It's very different. I like that approach, because then indeed I could get on a 6-week boot camp, come out, and then still not know, okay, what now? So I like that you can either take, let's say, like you rightfully said, some may just need the boot camp, depending on which phase they are in their business. But for some who are wanting to still have that, be part of that ecosystem for all the different phases of their business, and you have a platform for that, then I think that's brilliant. So I really love that. You mentioned something about how one of the approaches of in these forums that you take is sharing from experience rather than giving an advice. What I like, a component I like from there, is that it also helps me as an entrepreneur to dig deep, because I can actually be almost dependent to the advice I may be given. So when you give me an experience, then I'm still here to decide. It calls me to take responsibility. Absolutely. It makes me to dig deep. It makes me to decide. Because if you give me an advice and then let's say it works, I'll be quick to come back to you for advice again. So then it's like now your advice becomes like a quick fix for me. But it may also impair me from actually growing as a business person. So I really, really like that approach. Just had to throw that out there. So thank you for that. Thank you. I also liked you mentioned something about when you are in a process of like forming partnerships. I like that you did not say, oh no, when you feel a certain way, go out there and make partnerships. But you said, you gave an example of EN, so you then make yourself part of an organization like this, so that you actually help through that process. Because guess what? I may think the solution here is to form partnerships. Then I become part of an organization like this, and then I actually learn that, oh, I was actually just supposed to apply A, B, C, and D strategies in my business. It's not yet time for partnerships. So I think then forums like this, they become a sounding board to actually guide you through that process before you even make a decision to form partnerships. Because then when you've started, sometimes it can be hard to go back, and then some relationships, once you start them and then you realize it's not the right one, it just gets complicated. So I'm glad that you're actually mentioning that actually before that big step, have a board, have a soundboard, have an organization or a group of people that you can actually be with through that process.
So, Latanya, I often put it this way, is that you're forming a small community of people that you trust. You can connect with and you trust. They almost become your own personal board, and you can tap into them when and when you want. Because most small businesses don't have boards that can talk about something and allow themselves to be vulnerable. This is a safe space that if you cry, you're vulnerable or fearful or you whatever, you don't know how to overcome certain challenges, you feel absolutely okay. It's okay to feel like that, and people will support you and encourage you and hold you until you get there. And it's once you see the positive spin on that, and just sometimes just offloading and being able to share something with that in itself is therapeutic.
I totally agree with you, and that makes things so clear that you can make a very good decision then after that. Because sometimes some wrong decisions that people have taken, that we have taken, that I have taken, was simply because I was actually, my judgment was clouded altogether. But if I had a safe space like that where I could just pour out, it would be so clear that I actually now know the decision to take. So I absolutely love that. And I think it takes us to now scaling a business, and you've already touched on a few points there. Like what do entrepreneurs like need to consider when they are in a space where now they need to scale their business. I, for one, I didn't even know what scaling a business is. I can't even speak on that topic actually even now.
So scaling a business is when you realize you've got to take your business to the next level, but you've really got to have a deep understanding of your business.
Okay.
You've got to make sure that your processes are intact. You've got to make sure that your own leadership qualities are good, because you know you've got to now all of a sudden move to the next level where you're employing more people. You've got to make sure that you're investment ready, because you might have to go out and get investment.
Okay.
So is your business investment ready? And then you have to go out and look if this is, depending on what market you're going, is this the right market in order for you to scale, or is this a niche market you're not going to be able to scale? So all of those questions, so we go through a process of asking certain questions to see whether your business is scalable and if your business is ready to be scaled. Because it might need additional funding, additional resources, additional capacity. It will require a whole lot of different things than it did when you started up the business.
Okay. Yes.
We often say to people, try and stick to the knitting, stick to what you do best.
Okay.
But maybe there's some vertical integration where you, let's say you in marketing, but maybe you can offer a different marketing service. Maybe you can be a classic marketer and then you can go into digital marketing. So I'm just giving you an example. So instead of just taking your business and say, I'm going to scale, maybe there's very integrated revenue streams that you can follow that's not outside the realm and your speciality.
Okay, so then can an entrepreneur scale like a part of the business, not entirely? Let's say you are offering different services that are not even maybe related to each other. So when you're scaling, would I have to scale like all, or can I focus on one?
No. So you can just focus on one, or you can say, let me give you an example. We had somebody doing soap, really good soap, and they had really scaled that business, and then took the ingredients of the soap and started making body lotion and creams, and so it's very similar. So it's very much the same skill and the same market, the same customer, but you're just going into maybe one line. And I would never say go into another 5 lines. Keep your one line and make sure that it's profitable before you go into the next. Make sure that your business is profitable, it's well structured, it's well oiled, and you've got people that can take it over, because when you scale, you're taking your eye off the ball of your business. And if you've built really strong people that you can trust and you've empowered, then you can focus on taking the business and your strategy for the next level.
Okay, is it okay to, and I'm not sure if I'm asking this in the right way, is it okay to scale down for the purpose of focusing on, because some of us, when we went to business, we didn't know that one should specialize or focus on one thing. We just went out there. So when I see that, oh my goodness, there's just so many things I'm doing, is it okay to just niche down it and just focus on one thing?
Absolutely, because very often as entrepreneurs, we get passionate and emotional about what we do.
That's me.
And then we want to do this, and we actually cannot say no. So we say, yes, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do that, we're going to do that. And we found ourselves in a situation where we're so overwhelmed that actually your core business is suffering. So absolutely, it's a very good question, because people think scaling down and saying, okay, I'm not going to spend time on this is failure. It's not failure at all. It's courageous. It's very courageous.
Okay, I'm saying this live. Should I say it? I'm saying this live, Lord help me. I'm gonna scale down, yeah. I'm saying I'm not afraid to be vulnerable right now. I'm gonna scale down because I also found myself in this, which is why one of the reasons I joined EN, which is the reason why I'm also part of Silulo Foundation, because I was like, okay, I'm not even sure what I'm doing anyway. Someone asked me, who are your customers? I'm like, everyone. You know, then I saw, okay, there's a problem here, because I'm also doing many things. I can do that, so why not go for it? But not being able to do does not necessarily mean pursue a business in that. So definitely I'm also in that space, if I'm being sincere, of just restructuring and maybe even scaling down. Absolutely. To focus on one thing.
And you know, just to go back to what you said, I mean, I've had many businesses growing from ground up, and businesses that are very aligned, and there's some vertical integration in those. Yes. Businesses. Some work, some don't work. Those that aren't working, don't delay. If they're not working, don't say, well, I'll give it another year, I'll give another 3 years. Cut them off, you know, as quickly as possible. And I promise you that can be the single biggest bit of advice. I don't like coming from advice, but from my experience, where you feel emotionally attached to something and you don't want to let it go. Okay. But if it's not making you money, let it go. Just let it go.
And could that be still the case, if applicable, if it's your core business? Is it okay to also shift from the core business?
Absolutely.
Guys, I'm asking for myself here, right?
Absolutely.
I'm also asking for myself.
100%. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. I'll take that, really, because yeah, I found myself in a place where I'm like, I'm really good at this, but it's been years, and perhaps and also because times change. We're in artificial intelligence. I'm a graphic designer, so also with AI on board and so many apps that are out there making things very easier in the space of graphic design, you find that people would rather even opt to just use AI, to just use apps. So then you're like, maybe we're not very precious anymore as graphic designers, unless you can be strategic, obviously, and rather use AI and these apps to your advantage, because you may know how to use artificial intelligence or have access to these apps, but you may not have the time. So then you would still need me then to use Absolutely. Those, yeah, so I guess then the balance is there. But if I see that maybe that's rather taking longer, but I do have something else I can maybe explore and focus on, hence I was asking about the core business, because I have fears there, and I like that you mentioned attachment, because I think I'm having attachment issues. So definitely I will ponder on that as well. I think it's quite important, so thank you for sharing that.
It's my pleasure.
I'll come back to testify on this maybe in the forum. I think lastly, like with obviously these evident hats that you're wearing, how do you balance then your career life, your business life, and your family life?
So it's all about leading an intentional life and a life with purpose. And balancing your life is about choices. And it's a very personal and individual choice that you need to make. But I believe that people can do all of them: your family, your work life, yourself, because that's important. I think it's about harmonizing the three, giving yourself time and space, and indulging in your own time is so critical. Going on a walk, meditating, doing those things for yourself, putting some effort into yourself, whether it's educating yourself or making yourself look better or whatever it is. Then your family. The one thing I must say that I've learned, and I'm a single mom with a son, and just dash the guilt. Don't feel guilty. Okay. Because the guilt, you're guilty at work because you're not there, because you're going to go and watch and play soccer, and then you're at soccer and you feel guilty because you're not at work. That can be so destructive. Just that mindset that you're going through can give you such a negative energy. So dash the guilt. It's okay. It's absolutely okay. And I think there's no such thing as a perfect balance. No such thing as a perfect balance. As long as, I believe so much it's about quality and not quantity. It's about the quality of time you put at work. It's about the quality of time you give to your family, the quality of time you give to yourself, as opposed to the quantity. So, you know, I mean, to say a balance, nothing is ever balanced, really. So some weeks you'll give more to your family, and others you'll give more to your business. So it's just making those choices. And I must say that in the beginning of my career, it was just work. And I became such a workaholic that I was actually dangerous to myself and dangerous to my team. So you've got to have time with your family and your loved ones and yourself. You actually have to make the time for yourself. And no one worries whether you're working 16 hours a day, 20 hours a day, as long as you are having, you know, you're producing the results and you're making an impact. It doesn't matter. So I think a lot of women have this thing, I'm not balancing enough, and they feel guilty. So stop feeling guilty is the first thing. And then just make those choices and think about them very carefully, and what is going to create the most quality as opposed to quantity. You know, so it's not about spending 6 hours with your child and 10 hours at work. It's balancing the quality over the quantity.
Okay, so then the actual balance is in the quality versus quantity. And I absolutely love that, because then let's say you indeed spend 6 hours with your son, but what will that profit, that whole spending time with him, if 4 hours of the time you are thinking about work?
Exactly.
You have your phone, every time he looks away, you quickly answer that message.
Irritating him anyway.
Exactly. So why? And when he asks you a question related to the conversation you're supposedly having, you can't even answer because you're not focused. And then 6 hours indeed you have spent there, but did you really spend then the time with your son? Same with work. So I like how you are rather relating balance to not just balance, but what creates that balance is the quality you put in the time you spend. And now I'm just reminded that, now imagine you spending just an hour with your son, quality time. And when you go spend 6 hours at work, it's so sufficient with your son, because you actually gave your all. So that 6 hours won't even be for him like, oh, you're always at work. Because actually the hour you gave me as your son was just, you were there, you were very present, you were very engaging. So that's the actual balance. So it really makes sense that she's saying,
you know, if you can integrate it. So I used to, when my son was younger, I would take him with me. And if I had, you know, my family comes from Durban, I've got family all over, and he would actually spend incredible time with his grandmother or his, you know, so you can integrate it to make it fun for your kids. And I must just tell you a very funny story. So when I had my farewell, when I left the Imperial Group after many years, I had a very big farewell, and I actually invited my son, and he couldn't believe it. Mom's invited me to work. And so I was going through a little bit of history of, like, you know, being an entrepreneur and the good times and the bad times. And the one thing that I told the story, I said, you know, I was a hustler. In my early days, I was a hustler. And we didn't have official rights at the airport. So we operated, we used to meet clients with a little board. The global companies had, and the tender was out. So we had about 3-year window period where we would meet clients. And our competitors were getting very irritated because we were stealing their lunch, we were taking their customers. And one of our competitors actually reported me. In those days, don't forget, it was, you know, it was a different, we were living in a different society then. And they actually called the Umlazi police station, and they came and arrested me. I was arrested 3 times, and I was at Umlazi police station. Anyway, so to cut a long story short, in my farewell, I actually mentioned it. You know, maybe you don't know about this, but I'll tell you, this is how much of a hustler and how driven I am to succeed. Anyway, we get in the car, my son says to me, Mom, you've never told me that you were in prison. So I said, no, I was arrested. Anyway, the next day he goes to school and he tells his teacher, do you know that my mother was in prison? So, you know, I think you've got to really, it taught me a lesson. that I needed to share more with him about
Okay,
what I
see.
do, and so that he's not just thinking that my mother goes to work to be arrested. So really sharing
You've
what
given
you
him
do.
context.
Absolutely, sharing with about what you do. So and that was 7 years ago. But today I involve him in what I'm doing. I get his opinion on what he thinks
That's
about
beautiful.
things, and
That's the balance right there.
absolutely.
At the same time, on the positive flip side, that your son actually didn't know, that also tells me that you were really in this balancing, especially speaking about quality, that however that have made you feel, you going through that phase, it didn't affect your quality time with him, whereby maybe he picked up that, oh, no wonder, because those days you were ill-treating me, you were not in the very best of moods and whatnot, but he never even saw it coming, because you never maybe expressed yourself ill when you were having quality time with him. So then that also tells me that you really had the balance well there, for him not to even realize maybe there's some stuff going on at work that ended up, having you arrested, guys. Being impulsive. So does it mean you have a criminal record?
No, I don't. Fortunately, I've got a good lawyer.
Oh man, that's so wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that story. Yeah, I think this has been a mouthful, and I'm so glad that you came and we had this segment first, because then it's just setting the tone, and really all things work together for the good. So I'm going to say thank you once again. Thank you for sharing your story, and I can't wait to come back and actually share my story, the other pieces that came after having this engagement with you, not even just on this segment, but myself being part of EN. I mean, it's only been what, a month or two? We only had like two forum meetings, and not only have I learned so much, but just being aware that I have a backup system, just being aware that I am in the right place, and just being aware that I don't have to be overstressed, overworked, over this and over that and over that, and also being around people who are going through the same thing. I remember the first time in the forum when one of the ladies was sharing where she's at. I was like, what? You're going through that too? Okay, I'm in the right place. So that alone for me is such a milestone. It's a win, because then you come back not only feeling like you have the answers, but just feeling at peace. Oh, okay, I'm not in this alone. And someone who's listening may think you go through some things like this in life only for personal. We go through this in business.
Absolutely.
I didn't know.
Entrepreneurship
What?
is so lonely. It is such a lonely journey.
Sounds like ministry. Ministry is supposed to be a lonely journey. What? Sounds like we are here disciples looking for. So I've learned a lot. What? So thank you very much. And please continue being that pioneer, the one that's lifting others as you rise. And we'll follow suit. We'll follow suit. I'll just also write after you, try to pull others behind me. So thank you very much. And
thank you, Latando. It's been a great conversation, and really you're welcome to share more moments with me, and really it's been awesome.
It's recorded. She said we can share more moments with her, because before she goes global, she's very busy. So it's recorded.
Absolutely. I can't take that back. Eh?
No, thank you very much.
Thank you, Latando. It's been really great. Thank you. I feel blessed and privileged to be here with you.
Thank you. And that's it there. This is the first virtual. Imagine, I didn't even see it coming, but I always say all things work together for the good. The very first SWAW Virtual Summit 2024, and that was Dawn NathanJones. And I'll close by how I started. This is the multi-award winning entrepreneur. I'm saying, I want to repeat that because I'm coming there, I'm coming. That will be me in no time, because I'm also in a very good part of an ecosystem that empowers women, empowers entrepreneurs, empowers you. So thank you, and stay tuned. We are going to continue with this summit. Thank you.